Hey guys, welcome to another video. It has been a hot minute. I hope you're all doing really well and you've had a good season 3 and you've had a good start to season 4. Now this is going to be a video purely about a Restoration Druid PvP guide. I've released one every season and I've recently come back to the game a few weeks ago, so if you haven't jumped onto the stream, be sure to check the link in description. I stream most evenings around 9 p.m. UK time, sometimes 8 p.m. Purely depends. So in today's video, I'm going to go over the talent builds, which are largely the same, the stats that you want to get, PvP talents. I'm going to discuss situational talents, so what builds to run into certain compositions, freeze and solo shuffle, tips on how to play defensives like clone, ironbark, heal rotations, and when to pre-bear. I'm going to cover macros, which are also available in my Discord. The link is in description. And finally, the best comps to run to get your gladiator and your 2s rating up, or if you're purely a solo shuffle already, then that is absolutely up to you what you decide to take from that. But anyway, without further hesitation, guys, let's get right into the video. So guys, first things first, let's look over the talents. Now, honestly, everything as a druid is largely the same. So if you're thinking, what, this is the same as season 3, hold up, it's because it is. Now, not much has really changed in terms of the meta. DHs are still really strong, outlaw rogues are still ridiculously broken if played properly. Healing kind of has changed around. We've got holy priests, Pres Evokers, Shamans are at the top. Druids sit somewhere around the middle. We're not really good, but we're not really bad either. It just depends how you play it and how your team respond to the situations that you're up. So this talent tree is largely the same. This is my, what I like to call my general solo shuffle build. Now, what we need to think about in this is that the only real things that change in 2s is this. So I take Master Shapeshifter in 2s, but this is the general 2s build. So I'm not kind of going to spend too long explaining this because it is the same, but we're obviously going for the range here as we're quite a passive spec. We don't want to be jumping in solo shuffle. Obviously, if you're playing 2s or certain comps in 3s, you do want to be switching up the spec slightly. I always go for Innovate, which is obviously allows us to cast spells and mana, so I try and pair this with other spells. I have Renewal, which is a really nice instant heal for myself, particularly when you're getting AoE damage. And this side we have got obviously the multiple use of life blooms, or if you want to put it on yourself, so like this one you can put life bloom on yourself and the targets with reduced healing by 10%, and reforestation, which just every 3 Swiftmens you get broccoli or Groot, as I like to call it. Running Cenarian Ward, as always, one of your biggest heals, running Ironbark. So yeah, everything is largely the same here, guys. Let me more or less cover the builds I actually want to really discuss. So let's look at stats first. So I've just changed my UI around. So stats are very much the same. You can run depending on what comp. So if I know I'm going to get focused, I tend to play the high verse ring, which is what you just saw, which is this one. However, if I need kind of faster haste, depending on what comps I'm running into, I will play the other PvP ring, just because it massively boosts my haste to 28%. So that's if I'm needing faster clones, but honestly it doesn't matter too much. I think as long as you've got your mastery 20% and above, the higher you can get it, the better, to be completely honest. You want to get the soft cap of 30% verse, so that is a non-negotiable. We're actually really squishy, and I've definitely noticed this season that one of the ways higher tier PvPers like to combat druids is to switch to them, and it's a good tactic. Druid isn't the best AoE healing. You can get really easily caught off guard. If you've got no defensives, you're gonna really struggle. Another really good noteworthy mention is to get the seal of what is it, filial duty, from this guy in this building here, or no, this building here, in the Bronze Enclave. It's a new PvP ring. I'm not going to go for all the items, but I would recommend that one. Honestly, there's not any other item at the moment that I've noticed is worth a mention, but everything else is the same. You obviously want to use your blood tokens to get some of these other things. I used it to get the weapon early, and I used it to get the wrists, and everything else you want to run the 4 set, kind of a non-negotiable. So consume clear casting now causes your regrowth to cast nourish onto a nearby injured ally at 200% effectiveness. So you're basically just increasing your healing output, and your Grove Guardians Nourish now heal 2 additional allies within 45 yards. So that's kind of our ability to deal with, you know, AoE damage when you're dealing into those affliction warlocks, those melee cleaves. It can be really, really good. In terms of enchants, you just really want to get your speed enchants on everything. I actually need to put it on these wrists. I don't think I've done it yet. So Sophic Devotion, because that'll improve your best stat. So if it's mastery, then that's going to go up by, I think it's like 1,000 something. So that's kind of a really good one to run. Otherwise, guys, literally everything is going to be the same, just high level gear. I would also recommend crafting the Lifebound belt, the Lifebound braces as well, and you can either go for the mastery goggles, or you can go for the Lifebound cap, which I believe is what I have got somewhere somewhere in here, and obviously the Lifebound boots as well. You want them, just because they add, if you are going to min-max, that is probably the optimal route that you want. Or, you know, if you've got the staff in the vault, I'm not sure if there is a mastery staff. If not, I would definitely go for the offhand. Buy the offhand first, just because it's cheaper, and you get the buff, you get the stamina and the intellect, so makes a really, really big difference. Now, so we've gone over gear. Let's actually look at build. I've shown you the generic build, so now I want to discuss kind of what I run in twos, how I play in these optimal situations. So this build, range build, all the builds will be available down below, guys, is for solo shuffle. I run this into 95% of solos. The only time I run this build is into DKs. Now, the reason I run this into DKs is because I'm still quite tanky, and DKs like to grab and they stun, they do a silence, and then they do some sort of other kick or silence ability, and you get silence for like 10 seconds. As a druid, it is horrible to deal with. So if you can shift form, get away really easily, you can break the change of ice, and you can get out of the stun if you're quick enough. So that's kind of what I run into DKs. But sometimes I run range build. Honestly, depends if my teammates are going to peel. So let's just switch back to that. What I like to run in twos is completely dependent with what I'm playing with. So let's say I'm playing with a warlock. Let's say I'm playing with an affliction lock, a destro lock, a caster, so a shadow priest, or a frost mage, or a fire mage. I will likely play this. Now, the reason I will play this is so that I can set up the stuns. And the chances are that they are going to be focused, so I can take some of the damage off them. It's literally, we just take the talents from here and we put them down this side. So we've got the rate, we've got the feline swiftness, so we can kite if they decide to come us. Then allows our caster to free cast. You're going to utilize Tireless Pursuit, switching in and out of form, like so. So in and out, and again, there's a macro for this. So you can see that we get the super fast, like 40% buff, and it's literally on CD. So you do that, the classes aren't going to be able to keep up with you. Monk's DHs will get you every now and then. Sometimes as well, when I want to play Germination, I take 2 talents like Budding Leaves and put them in there, but I don't really do that. I think it's better to play double Budding Leaves. just because obviously increases the final bloom, and life points healing is increased by 6% each time it heals. So the longer it's on a target, the better, really. So yeah, this is my twos build when I want to run bash. You can also, I also play this build with a hunter. Again, it's really nice. You maim the DPS, they trap, and then you clone while the target's maim, and then you can even bash off the clone into another clone while they're still doing damage on the DPS. Super strong comp if the hunter's good. It's really fun to play. Now into like melee builds. So if I'm honestly, depends. If I'm running with a warrior, a DK, this is a build that I tend to run. They're going to be going ham on the melee, or on the, not the melee, on the healer. So what I tend to do is literally just spam Star Surge on cooldown, spam Wrath, and with Master Shapeshifter, I'm going to be getting mana back. Now, obviously, the other build has this as well, but I can gain mana back far better with this. So you're going to keep up your mana. You're going to get chance to drink because you're with a fairly tanky class. However, if you are concerned in those matchups that you're going to get a DH going on you, I wouldn't recommend going this build because you're not going to be able to outrun the DH. I would definitely recommend running the speed and germination one, just because the chances are the DH is going to get annoyed at you, run back, and then when he runs back to help his healer, you can root him, you can stun him, you can then clone him, and then you can run back to the pillar. That's the only reason I would not recommend going into this against a DH warrior or a monk, because they will massively focus you. Now I do have a Convoke build. I've played this a little bit. You can play this, I tend to play this with really tanky classes, so and into classes that aren't going to have a lot of enemies. So don't play this into demo, don't play this into BM hunters, don't play this into DKs, unholy DKs. It's just not good. But it's a bit of a meme spec, really. You want to basically stun, and then the other target should be CC'd, and then, you know, while they're in the stun, you use Convoke, and then your DPS does their go, and that's kind of how it goes. You can also, when the enemy is cloned, you can use swipe to actually hit the clone to get points for your maim, so then you can maim off the DPS ready for the next go. So that's kind of how you want to play this composition. So I will probably upload videos on how I do it, but yeah, like I say, I'm not an expert. But yeah, that is all the builds that I'm using. The build I'm using in Freeze is probably this one. It's very similar to Solo Shuffle. It depends what I play with, to be completely honest. I think in Freeze you want to be Farcasting. You don't want to be weaving in and out. There's two enemies, there's double the chance of stun, double the chance to get kicked. You're going to get caught off guard, get caught in a CC chain, or even worse, you're going to get swapped on and die. So I like to play this with Reforestation again, so that I can stay far back, heal, use my cooldowns, keep an eye on what's going on, and then when I need to, I can clone. So if I'm against double melee, I can clone the off target, or I can help to set up the switches, set up the goes, and let my DPS do the goes, and I'm purely healing them and providing CC when I can. I think that's a better way to play Druid. You're not like a Disc Priest or a Holy Priest where you're going ham on the damage. You're purely there just to keep the heals up over time and help set up the kill window using the clones. So that's kind of the passive way that I play it. You can switch this up. If you're running a melee cleave comp or into a melee cleave comp, I really like Ursul's Vortex, especially when Warrior Whirlwinds. It's just a really nice, makes them panic a bit. Otherwise, yeah, everything is pretty much the same. If I'm against an Assassination Rogue, I will switch to Improved Nature's Cure. I'll take off Innovate. That's generally what I do with that. Same for any other. If I'm against any Poison class, Survival Hunter, or a Druid, a Boomy or a Lock, I will switch into Improved Nature's Cure. Obviously, don't dispel the Unstable Affliction. I do actually have a weak aura for that, guys, available in my Discord, which tells you. Now, I think that's everything about talents. I'm going to be quiet. I now want to discuss the PvP talents. Now, the PvP talents, there are 4 we run, sometimes 5. Now, high winds got nerfed, so I don't see any point in running this at all. Deep roots, again, still don't see the point in running this. I know some people are, oh yeah, but this increases the amount of damage. Look, if I'm rooting something, I'm running away. I'm not going to be giving him damage. Yeah, the DPS might do that. It may be nice to run this into a Lorca Frost Mage, but honestly, I think we're so squishy right now. I tend to run Keeper of the Grove, protects from all harm. So that is nice. Obviously, a monk can kick you. So when you're against a monk, you do want to switch out. Probably, I don't actually know what I switch out for a monk. To be honest, I don't actually really switch out anything. But you can switch out this, so you can take in a piece. But some druids take this, which reduces your cooldown. Druids don't really have massive cooldowns. I know we've got this, but when we play Reforestation, it's not really a problem. So yeah, I run Keeper of the Grove, Focus Grove, so this reduces the mana cost of your life point by 8%, and with the mana pool of druids right now being pretty pants, this is a good one to use, and it also increases life points healing by 8%, stacks up to 3 times. So, and then Reactive Resin, so there's a lot of talk about druids, oh you should play this, you shouldn't. I don't actually think this is that good. It's okay if you're playing a super aggressive Disc Priest or Holy Priest or Shaman that is constantly dispelling, but truth be told, now we have this, so when our treants are up, their wild growth is going to be dispelled first. So this is kind of a little bit of dispel protection, but you can run this if you're really finding it a problem. I tend to play most of the time when I'm running this, and I've nearly always got a treant up. You should have a treant up most of the time. I tend to run Call of the Elder Druids, and if I'm really worried about going down, I will take Well-Honed Talents again. But this just gives us that extra protection. So when you shift into a combat, shift form, you gain Heart of the Wild for 15 seconds every 1 minute. So that's pretty much on CDs. If they're going to go for you, you can switch into that. You're going to get increased stamina. And I do believe you also get 2 frenzied regenerations, which is pretty good. So yeah, that's kind of all I would really say. Obviously, when you're in like an RBG, you can run early springs. You can switch. You can switch these 2 talents. So I tend to take these. Just for that, but yeah, I don't really do RBGs right now. But yeah, otherwise, guys, that's it for the talents. That's it for the build. Let's talk about some other things that are really important. So, guys, I think it's important we talk about defensive abilities and how to use them, what to use. Now, Druid is all about pre-planning. I've mentioned this before. We've got really good mobility. We've got good mobility if we come down this side of the tree. Otherwise, our mobility really isn't that much better than a lot of some classes. I know we can get up as of mobility reduction slows, but it's not really, we're not massively fast. So there's different ways to play a druid. I play very defensively. I don't think druids are strong on the offensive unless you stack a certain stat or you're playing Convoke, where it's very much about setup and control. So I like to utilize my clones an awful lot. I would always recommend making clone macros for Arena 1, 2 and 3 and getting well versed with these. They're so good. I would also recommend routing macros for Arena 1, 2 and 3. And Iron Back and Fawns and other things. And speaking of Fawns, you can run Fawns into monks, or if you're being the focus target, but I do like Call of the Elder Druid better. Anyway, so first of all, how do you use clone? So there are a few situations where clone is the best defensive, and somebody who doesn't know or understand how a druid is played will say, why were you cloning instead of a healing? Well, a druid doesn't continuously heal. A druid keeps up the dots and can't really do much else. If those dots aren't healing enough, you need to start cloning your targets. You need to be thinking, first of all, about learning classes big damage goes. So if we think of a DH using the hunt, or a warrior using Colossal Smash, then into Avatar for his big 20-second burst, or True Shot Aura on a hunter, those are ideal situations to clone in. I played a solo shuffle around, I think it was around 2200 MMR, and I got a fire mage saying, why weren't you healing me? So he had full hots on him, and he had Iron Bark. He had Cenarian Ward, and I was doing like 200k healing, probably more. And he said he died because he didn't block, and his response was, why did you clone the warrior? So the warrior was in Avatar. I cloned him, and it actually saved him for a few seconds, but he still died anyway. That is a perfect example of how people don't understand how strong that is. That ultimately stopped the warrior's go. And you can switch the clones around, especially if you're not being targeted, and it will dampen so much of the damage. It's actually crazy. So you want to be using clones as your number one defensive. And what you want to do in terms of Iron Bark is, I always try and use it ahead of my team using their CDs, because the problem with DPSs is that they, as soon as they see their health get low, they will respond by pressing parry, evasion. The mage may block, and if you're using Iron Bark, then you've just double layered, you've crossed over CC. So you want to try and use Iron Bark really early. Try and get that use on before the go. So, you might see Warrior pop up to instantly IB. They've already got the hots on them anyway. Their health isn't going to go low. They're not going to use parry. So then on the next go, the warrior can parry. So this is a thing with a druid that you have to get good at. You have to get good at recognizing these. And then obviously there's our healing rotations. Now, first of all, as a druid, you want to be thinking about positioning all the time. You want to be as close to a pillar. You want to learn to weave in and out with your keys. I would actually recommend taking off backpedaling, so you've got the S key free, but you want to learn or be learning to jump out like that. So a really nice way to practice if you're unsure is with this training dummy, and just see what you can get away with. Okay, so I am somehow so see, I'm out, but because I'm pressing E when I'm running in, so I'm actually casting it as I'm running in, and that's super overpowered, really. So I'm literally sticking out. They start casting CC. I'm already halfway around the pillar. Okay, so that is like super strong, and you want to abuse that. You want to abuse that a bit, but it's really, really good as a druid. You want to be coming in. Don't make the mistake like people do and be running in that all the time. Run out, cast, and keep an eye on the hots. So just to show you the healing rotation on this dummy. So first of all, Life Bloom is priority number one. So we always want to have 3 stacks of Life Bloom, and then Rejuve. And then what I like to do is then get a regrowth. You can use a regrowth on yourself, and it will still regrowth the target dummy. So watch this, and then look. So the target dummy's got a brand new regrowth on. So you can do that out of line of sight. It's a nice little way. And then what I would be looking at is popping a Treant like that, and then I Adaptive Swarm first, and then I Cenarian Ward. And then when the Cenarian Ward procs, I'll then Swift Mend, and then I will try and keep this. So if they then start doing a go, I might then pop out, try and clone, try and do a big heal, and then I'm going back in. And then by this time, our Grove Guardian's up, Swift Mend's covered for the big heal, and that is predominantly all you're going to be doing. When they've got to go, you've not been able to CC. For the next go, I would then recommend Tree of Life, or using Tree of Life before Iron Bark. And just again, the healing situation, the priority is exactly the same, but your regrowths are huge. Your rejuvenation, try and avoid just spamming regrowth. Obviously, if you've got Innovate, that's absolutely fine. But if you're really struggling, you can put down efflorescence, but it does cost a lot of mana, but it is cheaper than wild growth, and I find is just as good healing wise, particularly if they're running through it. It's like another cultivation. Try and use innovate when you use that, but then obviously if they're doing a go, just before the go, put on Ironbark, and then they should live. Ironbark is not one of those defensives that's going to save people like pain suppression. It's a defensive that is going to mitigate the damage and allow you to save your mana. Another really common thing, guys, that I see druids doing all the time is they will just constantly spam their spells. And then they will go so okay, they may keep the guy alive, but they will go You really want to learn to time, and I'll just show you here now so you can see. So you really want to learn to keep an eye on the actual time. My macros broke here of the actual times on here. So when that procs, and use it when this goes off. Okay, so it's about to go. Pop out, heal. Okay, so reju's going off. Pop out, heal. Okay, and then if you've got Swift Mend and you've got all your Scenario Ward and stuff up, then pop it out. Don't just continuously. Oh god, no life balloon. Don't just continually spam it, because you're not going to get any more added value. If your dots on, your hots are on the target, you're not going to get any more healing than that, so there's no point. Use Adaptive Swarm always before Scenario Ward, because it's got travel time, and that's really hit it with healing. If you're ever been focused, it's obviously important to know how to play defensively as well. So this is kind of what I want to show you now. So a lot of druids, when they get focused, they panic. So I save I save a lot for when I'm being targeted. So first of all, you've got a couple of really good defensives, but you've got to be super quick, because you can die in a stun as a druid. You're not like other classes where if you're stunned off trinket, you're completely useless. You can't really do anything. You're not like a priest that can go up in the air, a shaman with the 100 totems. You rely on your teammates to peel. So this is why playing a druid has a big skill gap and can be really, really quite stressful. So what you tend to want to do, okay, so let's say the warrior has charged me now, so he's connected to me. So as I see him charging to me, my immediate thing is going to be casting Life Bloom, casting Rejuve. That's going to be my bare minimum I'm going to get on myself. And then immediately, once I've done that, going to Barkskin. Now, Barkskin is a good defensive, but you need to have heals on you. Because what a lot of people do is they use it and they have no heals on them. Well, if you look, it increases healing received by 20%. And prevents damage from delaying your spellcast. So what you want to do is try and get your heals on first, and then be casting, some of the bigger heals if you're going to cast regrowth. So get your instant hots on, get backs on, and then maybe cast a regrowth on yourself if you can. You're probably going to be in a storm bolt or a stun or whatever it is at this point. So then you want to be bearing, and you instantly want to be running away. Try not to expose your back. Try and get into the habit of kind of jumping and turning to them, just to make them current less, particularly if you're against a rogue or whatever. There's a higher chance to dodge. Also, what I like to do, and I've got to show you this, is I like to use I like to get enough rage, and I like to Ironfur. And Ironfur's pretty big. It adds 3k armor. That's going to severely reduce the impact. So those are kind of your hot priority. You then want a renewal, and you then want to get the DPS round the back of the pillar, and then cast your roots, and then immediately run off if you're getting slowed. And then when you've got a gap, when you've bridged the gap, that is when you should be jumping, coming away. You can go towards an enemy like that. Try and do that rather than just doing a leap. the leap across the map. You can leap up to different levels, but I wouldn't waste your leap. I would always try and either leap to your teammate who's playing far like that, or with a close route around a pillar. Use bash, use incapacitating roar, which can be good. I prefer bash. But yeah, don't just use your spells willy-nilly. Try and think, well, I'll save bash here. I know they're going to come for me. I know they're going to switch a go. Try and preempt things, and don't just panic and use overgrowth and spam all your treants. Another good tip is you can actually use treants as well when you're in bear form. So sometimes if I'm struggling and I'm running away, I've got no bash, I do like to use the treants. But again, you can even respond by going into tree form, but I have been killed through tree form. So mobility is your first call, and then it's using your other defenses. But honestly, if you have life bloom, rejuve, Cenarian ward, instant hots, and then you're kiting around, rooting around a pillar, the chances are you're gonna be getting away. And then obviously you can adaptive swarm yourself as well, and you shouldn't be dying if you're frenzied regen. Doing that as much, but you will die if double DPS go on you. They get you in your stun, and your team do not peel, especially if they're really good on the switch. You get caught out in the open. This is how I die the most, and I have got 2.2k this season, so I like to think I know what I'm doing, but there are situations where you will struggle. Now, guys, on to the macros. I've got loads of macros for Druid. All I'm going to say with this one is there's two that I would recommend. It's this one, Innovate and Nature's Regrowth. Honestly, as a Druid, there is not a lot more you need. The only one I am going to say is that when you drink, you want this macro, which it gets rid of your trees, because your trees keep you in combat. So I use a macro on alt 3 there, which gets rid of the totems. So that's a weak aura, and that is all part of my UI guide, so you can see that on the Discord. Please feel free to contact me on the Discord if you have any questions. But yeah, all the macros that I use are on there. I'm not going to go through each one and what it does, because there's a fully written explanation on there, and you can see what they do. But yeah, the two ones that I showed are the main ones. So final thoughts, best comps to run in twos so I do a lot of viewer games. I don't really push seriously in twos anymore, but I think the best comps to run with a druid would probably be a DH or a hunter and an outlaw rogue. Now, some people may say, oh yeah, but warlocks are really good, these are really good. Yeah, they're okay, but I find them quite boring to play with. I like to play where I'm stunning, I'm cloning, and warlocks are going to be for the long game, so I'm not really a fan of that. And I wouldn't recommend anybody just starting out on a druid to play with a warlock. Hunter is by far the best. DH, even a warrior, if you can't find a DH, can be good. Monks I find too squishy. I find our cooldowns aren't great at saving them, especially if they line us. In terms of freeze, what you can play, Boomy DH is fantastic at the moment. Outlaw Boomy is fantastic because we've got a lot of control pressure. Ellie Warrior or Ellie DH is another fantastic one. You've got widespread pressure. Affliction Assassination is super strong. And finally, Shadow Priest and Affliction. They're my favorite free comps to play. If you have enjoyed this guide, guys, and you found it useful, please do join the Discord. Head over to my Twitch. Make sure to hit the follow button. I do go live most evenings of the week and the weekend. And if you just want to chat with me, ask me questions, feel free to message me on Discord, put a message in the questions channel. That's what it's there for. I've also, if you do like my UI, I've also got a full UI video on how you can make this UI. And if you do sub to my channel on Twitch, you get a UI pack which has all this built for you. Anyway, guys, in the meantime, be kind, be peaceful, and remember, most of all, you are appreciated. Bye.